under the umbrella of polio.
But I'm saying
Does that make sense?
I'm not seeing any. I'm looking at as many as I can from the Mayo Clinic, the CDC,
You're
Wikipedia.
looking at science-based medicine and like left brain, right brain.
So I'm
Respect.
saying not a single one of them makes
Okay.
any distinction between
Okay.
polio and poliomyelitis.
Okay. So
So
I'm asking. So
if you're saying they're two different diseases, then I would like you to see some proof that there's actually reputable sources that say these are two different diseases.
okay. So I actually get my stuff from medical journals, which I have references to.
Okay. So let
And
me have a
Which I sent you, which I put in my notes that you didn't post, but whatever.
couple of them so I can find one.
let me just finish this.
Sure.
Or I can just give you. You want me to give you all my references like after the debate?
No, I just want to see one source that says that polio and poliomyelitis are two different things.
Okay, hold on. Let me. Okay. Let me. I'm almost done, and then I'll give
Okay,
you the
go
reference.
for it.
All right, okay. Sorry, I'm trying to. It's a lot, so I'm just trying to stay on track.
Go
Okay.
for it.
Okay. So this happened. So with the Cutter incident, which had the vaccine, which had polio in the vaccine, when people were vaccinated, when you vaccinate somebody, because you inject it under the skin, it doesn't. The virus doesn't enter through an orifice. It could cross the blood-brain barrier.
Mm-hmm.
So they let me see. Yeah, so it could cross the blood-brain barrier also that way, also paralyzing people. Now, everybody that got polio was paralyzed, but that was another way that it could cross the blood-brain barrier into the central nervous system. Okay. 1961, the Sabin vaccine, the oral polio comes out, and that is used. There's also been complications with that style of vaccine. In India, there have also been, let's see, 47 children paralyzed by the polio vaccine. The drop in poliomyelitis reported cases are congruent also with the drop in DDT chemical production. There are people that have did a graph and correlated like around that time. And like I said before, why was there a spike during this time in history? Okay. Now, last component to this.
You're
So
talking about the oral polio vaccine, which is still given today in certain areas, right?
yeah,
Okay.
like in India, they're having a huge problem right now. Even the world, the WHO recognizes this, and they call it vaccine-derived polio.
The World Health
Or
Organization, for everybody who
yeah,
doesn't know what the WHO is.
yeah, and they're calling it vaccine-derived polio, or they're calling it instead of polio, they're calling it acute flaccid paralysis.
So,
So,
just so you know, when I was living overseas,
mhm,
right, they found polio in a sewer system in one of the cities in the country.
yeah,
And they mandated everybody who was able, who was not either under, I believe, 6 months
mhm,
or immunocompromised or older than a certain age, take the oral and injectable polio vaccine.
mhm.
Do you know how many cases of polio came out of it?
I don't know.
Zero. Not a
Where'd you
single
live?
one. And
Where'd you
all of
live?
my kids had it. So it was
Where'd you live?
Israel.
Israel. Okay, okay. So I mean,
All your
but
kids
not
had
everybody. But I did I say that everybody got the vaccine was paralyzed?
No, what I'm saying is that there
Did I,
wasn't a single case that was gotten from the vaccine of the 6 million people who got it.
oh, okay, so was this like in 1955 or was it
This
like
was
how long?
5 years ago.
Okay, so I'm talking about the 1955 Cutter incident, not like
Okay.
every. Okay, so
Okay, so this is interesting. You said it was about 4 years ago. So I'm guessing that puts you in Israel about 2013, where you're talking about the polio outbreak happened. And well, lo and behold, when you look at that, they were already vaccinated, modeling the spread of polio in an IPV vaccinated population. That means inactivated polio vaccinated population. Lessons learned from 2013 silent outbreak in southern Israel. So, basically, it says a silent outbreak of wild poliovirus WPV was detected in Israel, a country using an inactivated polio vaccine exclusively since 2005. So they've been using the population was vaccinated Yeah, they still got polio. So does this mean that, I don't know, vaccines don't work? Jeez.
I used to be a cutter.
Yeah. Okay. So to hide complications from the vaccines, doctors are actually coerced into changing the diagnosis of poliomyelitis to acute flaccid paralysis, transverse myelitis, Guillain-Barré syndrome. Now polio has conveniently disappeared. Iron lungs are now ventilators. So when people say there are no iron lungs, then, well, yeah, there are no iron lungs because the technology changed, then they're now ventilators.
Right.
So scientists, last on the polio vaccine, scientist Michel Carbone discovered simian virus 40, a monkey virus, after doing cancer research by dissecting tumors to determine the cause of cancer. 60 different lab tests confirmed that the virus is from the polio virus vaccine. Now, just to explain that a bit, when they were growing the virus on the polio vaccines, they had to grow them in monkey kidney cells in order for them to replicate fast. They couldn't do like in a petri dish. So all the vaccines, the viral vaccines, are grown on some kind of animal or human cell. When you inject this into your body, you cannot separate on a molecular level the cell that it was grown in from the antigen, which is placed in the vaccine. So you're injecting that into your body, and over time, it can lead to cancer. This is just the polio vaccine. There's other instances of vaccines. So this scientist was he was doing research on mesothelioma, and he was getting, tumors and dissecting them and breaking down the components. And he was puzzled as to why, simian virus 40, which is a monkey virus, was found in human polio vaccine or human bodies. So after 60 different labs, he sent it to different labs. They confirmed that it was from the polio vaccines because that's what they use to grow the virus on.
So you're saying that the DNA from the fetal cells, the embryonic cells that it's grown in, will transfer to the host and cause cancer?
They're monkey kidney cells, not fetal embryonic cells.
Well, a lot of vaccines are grown in embryonic cells. That's what I thought you were talking about. But
no,
but you're saying that monkey DNA will translate to us and cause cancer.
Yeah, it can.
Yeah, you think? Really? That's just common sense?
Okay. Again, I would like, what is the source for that?
Okay, so
while you're doing that, I'm going to load up my vaccine shot here. Guys, what do you want me to vaccinate for today? Considering that I'm one of these types of people, not for any reason, no conspiracy theories. I have not been to a doctor since I was 18 years old. I don't believe in it. I don't want to know if anything's wrong with me. If there is and I'm going to die, it's my time to die. I don't ever want to be plugged into machines, and I will not take their medicines.
Yeah, but
That's just how I've been.
don't you want to live a nice quality of life? You don't want to have autoimmune disorders and diseases?
I want to have whatever God gives me.
You want to be able to have fun, though, right? You don't.
I already did. I had a thing back when I was a kid. At 35, everyone should die like the cavemen. I've lived at 37, so you know what? I've already beat that by 2 years. I'm ready to go. No, I've never been to the doctor since I was 18. Just don't do it. I don't do that. And believe it or not, I have my own dental thing. Haven't been to the dentist since I was 18.
Hey, how do I send this to you? How do I?
You can just text it to me, or you can email it, however you want.
I'll have to email to you.
Sure.
So, but I mean, well.
Hey, let me ask you a question while you're looking for that, because somebody wanted to know if you feel that, let's see, the Gardasil HPV vaccine, if you've heard of any connectors to leukemia specifically.
Let's definitely go about that later. That has nothing like necessarily to do with what we're talking about right now.
I'm just asking because everyone's getting bored in the chat of what we're talking
I'm
about.
sorry, guys. I just wanted to, you know what I can do too? When this is posted, I can give you all of my references for all the polio stuff that I mentioned. It's a long explanation, and I know extraordinary claims. What is that? extraordinary claims requires extraordinary evidence. So I had to be thorough, and I know some people probably went to sleep, but I want people, to like.
Well, let me ask you, what have I seen recently in the news that polio is starting to come back here with the rise of the migrants crossing into the United States?
It can.
It can. Where are you getting your information from? Okay, tell me this, Einstein. If the majority of the population is vaccinated against polio, then how are immigrants able to bring it in and cause an outbreak among the vaccinated population? Or is it that vaccines don't work just like they didn't work in Israel?
I don't know.
I thought we started to hear about cases back in the United States again in the last 6 months.
I mean, polio went from, in 1988, there were 350,000 documented cases in the world. And now, I think the last stats were in 2013 or 14. They were saying that it's down to about 850, but it's still out there. Like, you still can get polio. It's not like smallpox, which you can't get anymore because
do they vaccinate for polio in Mexico and South America?
They don't vaccinate for anything in a lot of places where they don't have a competent medical system.
What? Yes, they do. I mean, you've seen cases where, like, Africans, they don't have beds, they don't have hospitals, but they'll have vaccines. Bill Gates won't, they won't have food or shelter, but they'll bring some damn vaccines in and vaccinate those people.
Is polio still in Mexico and or South America, or no?
Not especially. There still is polio, but it doesn't spread the way it used to.
Okay. No, I was just wondering. I don't know. It was interesting to me. I figured, what the hell? Bring it back. Bring it here. It'll be exciting. We need more. Look, I have stock in the wheelchair business, so we want to make sure we sell more wheelchairs.
Yeah, so hold on one second. NSB40. So is it paralytic polio?
I don't know. I just happened to notice it in the recent articles.
Because polio is a waterborne illness. So if, whether people are vaccinated or not, they can still get polio. Polio doesn't, just because you get a vaccine for this stuff too, there's also evidence that shows that you can't. It's not going to prove you can still get vaccinated for a disease and still get the disease. And in fact, in some of the vaccine inserts, it says that one of the adverse events is actually the disease that you're being vaccinated for. So I don't know. I'd have to determine, are they being vaccinated? Are they getting polio from the vaccine? Are they getting, polio because they have if it's a bad water supply or a dirty water supply, because it's waterborne. When they found polio in Israel where you were, it's like I said, it's transferred to the oral fecal route. So, bad water, bad, I don't know. I mean, there are lots of things that have to be determined to figure out, like.
So let me ask you, from the ex-vaxxers and the anti-vaxxers, what is the main driver, you believe, like the FDA in cooperation with Big Pharma, like for profits, or what do you think the purpose behind this? Because as someone who's listened to, say, someone like Michael Savage for years, who before he was in talk, he was in science, and I've heard him talk about when people call up about vaccines, and he always says, look, there's so many that I can't address it on a radio show. It'd have to be broken down vaccine by vaccine, so I don't really want to take a stance on that. In this particular case, though, I mean, do you think the push is profits? I mean, is it profits for the big pharma to sell vaccines? What do you think the purpose is from your end, and why they push it so heavily?
I think it is. I think that, there are lots of diseases that we aren't vaccinated for, right? We come in contact with lots of pathogens all the time. We're not vaccinated against all of those pathogens. We're only taught to fear the ones that that there are vaccines for. There's a famous Brady Bunch and Leave It to Beaver episode where they're talking about the measles, and they try and get everybody to get the measles. And, it's when my mom was younger and her parents' and everybody before them, getting the measles and chicken pox. Chicken pox was actually, a good thing because made you immune. Natural immunity makes you less susceptible in the future. Sorry, I'm going off at a tangent. I'm trying to answer.
I had chicken pox when I was a kid. It was itchy.
But now they're teaching you. Okay, I know I'm going to. So now they're like, oh, the measles, it's coming back. It's crazy. You're going to die. And, people recorded cases of people that have died from the measles. Those are countries, again, in malnourishment where people are malnourished and for instance, they don't have vitamin A. So measles depletes your body of vitamin A. If you're malnourished,
so is it about profits? Is it about eugenics? Like what would be the purpose for the government in cooperation with Big Pharma to push them?
I think it's both, but I can talk about the profit factor right now.
But I mean, would you say that like behind? I mean, look, and I don't want to say that you're part of, one group of anti-vaxxers, but I mean, I haven't studied it. That's why I'm asking. Is the big sort of talking point related to profits, or is it related to eugenics, or is it related to incompetence, or what is it? What is the big driving factor behind them?
Each person is kind of different. The CDC owns patents on at least 20 vaccines. It's a subsidiary of the pharmaceutical industry.